Hello, my friends. This is Andy Falco Jimenez coming to you live from Yorba Linda, California for the Vote PYL Vote broadcast. And today, I want to talk about the consequences of elections. And of course, many of us know what's happening from in the federal government and the consequences of that election, the 2020 election. We're feeling it now. What was it called again? Because this has several names, but the Inflation Reduction Act that appears to be going through is everything but that. They also said it had something to do with climate. So now I think they changed the name to the Climate Act. How do you go from inflation to climate? And then also it's addressing prescription drugs. It is just insane what it is that's going on in our country right now. I'm going to talk about the 87,000 IRS agents that it calls for in that particular act, and how they're saying, don't worry, it's not going to affect any of you people that are making anything under, I think they said 400,000, but I think in some cases it might be talking about $200,000 a year. That is, of course, not the truth based on a whole lot of things that I've been reading on it. And the idea that it's for customer service, that's the most recent thing I've heard, is that it's they want to hire 87 agents, not phone clerks, not people that can paralegals of some sort that could kind of help you through the process of paying your taxes on time, or maybe reducing your taxes. No, they want to hire 87 agents is the words in the act. But yet they're trying to tell you it's for better customer service. 87,000. We only have 50 states. How many is that going to be in each state? What kind of nonsense are they trying to feed? Even some of the dumbest people in our country understand the BS that's behind this act that they've just gone through. So, needless to say, elections have consequences. I went out today and I I'm going to give you a video report of an area of our PYL area. Remembering, I'm talking about the area of Yorba Linda, Placentia, Fullerton, portions of Anaheim and Brea that are involved in the PYL area as it relates to the school district, but the city councils that are in those areas, the any other kinds of representatives that are responsible for these areas. And then, of course, all the school boards, all the school board members and superintendents that are involved in the district, all are important to understand how it is that we can put people in place that don't have such negative consequences on our children, on our community, on our businesses, on traffic, on police and fire. Now, the elected officials, unlike the superintendents, the elected officials like the school board members and the city council and representatives are people that, make decisions about hiring some of these other people like the superintendents and whatnot. So it is really, really important that we no longer just worry about the federal elections like president and senators and Congress, that we really begin to look and understand what's happening in our local areas. And if you are anything like me, I did not pay that much attention. It was often, and I've said this on whenever I've been talking about the school board members, that I would just thought, and this is a huge mistake, especially if someone like myself, who's a former police officer, who really cares about this country, took my eye off the ball, took my eye off the local elections, thinking wrongly that because people are in these positions, which really in some cases don't pay or pay very little. I think Yorba Linda City Council, from what I understand, is $500 a month. And then you get some per diem or vehicle allowances and that kind of stuff. So it's not like they're making a killing off of what they get paid. And so you think about it and you think, like, and especially school board, you think these are people that obviously have the best interests of our children in mind, and parents and the local community, because what is the point? But power is very powerful. Power is intoxicating to some people, apparently, as I learn more about our Yorba Linda City Council. as I learn more about our school board members. Two in particular in our school board that are sick and just crazy about their power. There's something else going on, and I haven't quite been able to find out yet, but I'm hoping that I will, that there's something else going on. And I hope through the people that are already connecting with me, I'm already finding out some things about our city council members, some very positive, and then a lot, of course, very not good. And so we're going to be bringing that out. One thing I hate being wrong. Yesterday at dinner time, we sit at the table. There's 8 of us, including a friend of my son's. We were all sitting at the table, and they apparently like it when I do trivia. As reading dinner, they want me to say things. I said, give me the name of a mammal or a mammal in the ocean that has a color in its name, and then they'll yell out blue whale, for instance. And so I come up with things like that. What kind of insect is royalty? And of course, that's a monarch butterfly. And so yesterday I was wrong because I was actually, and I don't know why. Now it makes total sense, but I mistakenly thought the capital of Washington was Helena, when in fact that's Montana's capital. And I was convinced, but then when I realized I had made a mistake, I tried to pretend that I knew what I was talking about. You adults know what I'm talking about, where you say if you just act with confidence, you know what you're talking about. You can sometimes get away with it. No, but I wasn't going to. But I hated it. To this day, I'm still thinking about how I hated the fact that I was wrong. But and so when it comes to stuff like this, I want to make sure that to the best of my ability, that I am correct and truthful and factual in the things we talk about. Am I possibly going to be wrong from time to time? Maybe. But I'm going to do my very best not to be wrong. And so I'm hearing some things now. I'm trying to get many opinions, not trying. I am getting many opinions, and I am working towards coming to some conclusions about some of the members we have in the City Council of Yorba Linda. I'm just now beginning to look into the Fullerton City Council because my report comes from Fullerton. And I'm going to take you to an area in Fullerton that is about 6 miles away from our house. It would be what is, quite possibly known as a lower income portion of Fullerton that has high capacity housing. Not necessarily on purpose, but that's just the way that it works out. You have apartments there that in a single building of an apartment, you have somewhere, and this is just off the top of my head, anywhere from 4 to 6 units downstairs and 4 to 6 units upstairs. Sometimes they can have a courtyard in the middle and these units, surrounding it. Or sometimes they're single and then have these units on them. But in each one of those units will be either one family of a lot of kids or 2 families. Sometimes they're 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. Sometimes they're, I've seen as many in my work in Anaheim, which has very similar types of areas in Anaheim. And when I pursued bad guys as a police officer into this particular area in Fullerton, and we run up and kick a door down and go inside, you'll find somewhere around 8 to 10 men sleeping in a 1-bedroom apartment. And so you'll see these kinds of things. So I went out and I filmed this report. After I come back from this report, I want to talk a little bit of why I decided to do this and want to talk to you a little bit further about it. All right, here we go. Hello, my friends. I'm out here at Sapphire and Pearl in Fullerton near Topaz Elementary School, which is right behind the camera here. And the reason I'm out here is because I want to bring you to an area that may be outside of where much of my audience lives. Now, I live in the Yorba Linda area. This is only 6 miles from my home. What you need to know is the children that live in this area go to our schools, and they're amazing kids. Some of the kids that live in this area are kids that my children either play sports with or are friends with. And we have come into this neighborhood and pick up some friends and brought them to our home for dinner and to hang out and that kind of stuff. And again, the reason I want to come out here is just share this community with you, because it may not be an area that you venture out to very often. If you see all these cars on the street, I'm here at Monday, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and do you see the large amount of vehicles that are here? Now, this means a couple things. This means that either the adults that drive these cars work at night, or they are unemployed, or maybe this is just their day off. But the number of vehicles, hundreds of vehicles, they
You can see them as far as the eye can see that direction, which is, again, Sapphire, and then they're parked. I barely found a place to park myself here. And this area, I would, I want to be careful because I'm not trying to be derogatory, but I want to tell you that I have worked at Anaheim Police Department for 21 years. We had plenty of neighborhoods like this in our city, and I spent 21 years patrolling areas like this and spent a lot of time in areas like this. And quite often it was dealing with domestic violence issues, molestation issues, drug crime, gang crime, human trafficking, drive-by shootings from gang members. And it is so unfortunate that when we make bad decisions and who we elect and put into position, whether it's city council, school board members, what have you, mayor, that the decisions they make more often than not affect these folks more so than any other. The current administration, whether it's the federal government or the local government, often could care less what happens to these people in regard to gas prices, in regards to street repair and maintenance. These places get left last on the docket, or not at all, at all addressed. And why is this important to people that live like in Yorba Linda, that kind of stuff? And again, I don't want to make it that much of an issue as the difference in demographics, and I'm not making a difference in as far as value is concerned. But why are these people just not thought about when it comes to lockdowns, when it comes to gas prices, when it comes to what's happening in our schools? Quite often, many of the people that I would arrest are the male or the fathers because they are the ones who tend to commit the most crimes. And that would leave the father out of the home. And of course, we know that a fatherless home is a terrible place for children, because that is, again, is one of the leading causes of children becoming criminals themselves, or being last in education, being illiterate, not able to do math. And so we need to really put people in place who understand this aspect of it when it comes to, in particular, our school boards. Because when you begin to attack them with the gender issues, LGBTQ and CRT, when you have children that are coming from a home where parents, having all or both parents at home is an issue, then that is a child who's going to be more vulnerable to the confusion that this type of teaching causes. When you're teaching children to hate the police, when you're teaching children that the nuclear family is horrible and that they don't need or should not tell their parents about their depression or anxieties, or you begin to teach children that maybe they're not, if they're born a girl, that they're not a girl, that there actually could be a boy or a dog or a cat, or if they're born a boy, there actually could be a girl. These children are the most vulnerable and the easiest to sway. And do you not think those people that want to cause chaos in our community don't know that? They do. They do that. They know that when they reach these children, that they are going to get and impact them quickly and strongly, and they're going to make it more difficult for them to become healthy children that understand the truth of two genders, that education is important, that growing up and having a cohesive family, a mother and father at home, is important, and that a life in drug dealing, in over drinking, in crime is not the way to go. So I just simply wanted to bring you out here and show you and kind of give you a little bit of back information. Again, I know these areas very well, trust me. There is a way to turn these areas around. I don't know the crime statistics in this particular area, but I have heard through, again, some of the friends that my kids have, that there is some issues here and some difficulties. But the important thing that you need to know about these areas is that they can be transformed. In Anaheim, we had an area called Chevy Chase, and another area, Temple Street, and another area we called Little TJ, and there's others. But much of those areas were transformed. When I started at Anaheim Police Department, I remember coming off of Harbor Boulevard, driving down Romney, and then you're in the Chevy Chase area. And you make a right-hand turn into the Chevy Chase area, and it looks like you went into not a third world, a fourth world, or a fifth world, if there was such a thing. Where I remember having to drive around couches that are in the middle of the street, cars turned upside down, things caught on fire that are just sitting there on fire on the sidewalks. And that's the type of environment that these kids had to grow up in. And we were able, through proper policing, broken windows policing, through corporate partnerships with Carl Karcher Enterprises, and we were able to transform that Chevy Chase area into a gated community, and we're able to get out most of the riffraff, arrest those people that needed to be arrested, and completely transform that neighborhood. It is possible. When you elect the right people, when you have cooperation with corporations, and you have a police department that stands up to those people that are against broken windows policing and strong policing, you can literally transform an area like this and make it a place that's welcoming to families and to children. And then you take them and put them in a school with Topaz when you have a school board that is willing to educate the kids, not indoctrinate the kids. That will transform a neighborhood. So that's my report here from Sapphire and Pearl and Topaz Elementary School, and I'll be back in the studio.
And here I am. So I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to be there because I can sit here in this studio here, which is my home, and talk about it. But you might want to drive through there one of these days and actually see what that neighborhood looks like. The video there does not necessarily show the clothes hanging from the balconies and the cars that are up on the up on the grass that have no tires and that kind of stuff. But as you drive through the neighborhood, you have a lot of oh my gosh, what are those things? Not food trucks, but there's another name for them because they have food trucks along the line. Now there were a lot more during COVID, but there are food trucks everywhere and those carts running around everywhere. And there's this little bit of area there where a large amount of people live. A lot of kids live in those areas that attend El Dorado, Tuffrey, Golden Elementary, and of course that Topaz Elementary that was where my camera was. If I would have turned my camera on, you'd see Topaz Elementary School. And I thought it was really important. I thought, you know what, I need to show these areas because when we go to the school board meetings, I see a lot of the same people. A lot of the same people live in the Yorba Linda area. And I know that there are a lot of families in that area that are questionable as to their documentation and citizenship that they may fear going to the school board meetings. There are some that do show up, though. We've had a couple that have had a Spanish translator. They'll bring one of their children with them, that the parent will, and they will translate what their parents say. And they hate this stuff. They hate the LGBTQ stuff, the gender issues, the CRT, the hate on police, because they know without police, that area can go bad really fast because it just does not take long for that to happen, considering the demographics and the large number of people that are in a very small area. Can you imagine what it's like? And again, another reason why there are so many cars there is because they stuff so many people in some of those apartments that each one of the adults, if there's 8 adults that are working, you have 8 vehicles, possibly, maybe 6 vehicles, and some of them get a ride. And that's why you have so many vehicles. As I was trying to look for a parking spot myself, I saw a young mother with 2 children come out of an apartment, and they walked way down the street, and they walked all the way up to where the elementary school is, and then turned right, and that's where I saw them get into a car. Every day it's simply it's a hassle to try to find a place to park their car, and it's difficult. So as all of these issues that are going on in this neighborhood begin to build up, that's why you have so many domestic violence calls and abuse calls and all kinds of things, because you have a large amount of people in a very small, tight area. And then you're asking these kids to go to school, or they're being masked, or they're being say, you got to go, you got to stay home and do Zoom call. Can you imagine? And I just want to take you back to when the lockdowns were and the schools weren't open. Can you imagine what it was like in those neighborhoods? I wish at the time that I would have thought about it and would have been as involved as I am now, because I wanted to go in there and I wish I could have gone. Sorry, I'm getting all excited. I wish I could have gone in there and seen what is it that are they doing. You got a lot of families living in a very small area. Sometimes, again, a single bed or 2-bedroom apartment with 5, 6 kids in there. And did each one of them have a computer? Was the internet strong enough? Can you imagine how the strains on the internet in that area with the large amount of people that are there and the Zoom, was anything actually happening? So you understand I hope, my thoughts and my concerns that when you have the difficulties in a neighborhood like that going on with these children from kindergarten to high school, grade 12, that they have to live, and I've seen much of these kids. One of the other things I was involved in as a police officer, something called Disney Goals. And we had a neighborhood just like this one in the Jeffrey Lynn area, which is a neighborhood that was just outside of Disneyland, outside the walls of Disneyland. And it was one of the most crime-ridden areas in our city of Anaheim. Shootings, just like crazy. I've been shot at in that neighborhood. I chased bad guys in that area. My dog probably bit 5 or 6 people in that area that were bad guys. I got surrounded by the neighborhood as I was trying to arrest one man for assault with a deadly weapon, and was surrounded, and I had to call for help, and the helicopter was over, and I had to be rescued because I was being surrounded. This is an area that is just outside the wall of the happiest place on earth. So in that area, we developed something along with a man that they brought in from Brooklyn, and his name is escaping me right now. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. Something called Disney Goals, where we would take children in that area and teach them how to play ice hockey. We would give them skates and sticks and padding and helmets and all that kind of stuff. And then we would take them to the Disney ice, and we would teach them how to play hockey. The only requirement was that if they continued with their education, and then if they went to the after school learning programs that we had developed with Disney Goals, that if they had attendance, so they would have to go. And in turn of going, then we would take them to the ice rink and teach them how to play hockey. And then we put them in the teams, and they would play in games, and it grew and grew and grew. And the Ducks bought into it, and Disney bought into it. And we had a large amount of kids who were doing. These kids are hungry for just connection and having fun and playing sports. But without that, I was told by many of the kids that grew up and became teenagers that I would see later on, and they would say, they would find me and say, "Hey, I got a job." It gave them value. It gave them something to look up to. As a police officer, I would come there in my uniform and have my skates on and go skating with them. Then sometimes I would change into my hockey uniform and play hockey with them. Then they would see this connection with the man, because they, in some cases, they didn't have fathers at home. And it is a great program. And so these kids are hungry for real life opportunity to hear from men that want to give them some sense of who they are as boys growing up or girls growing up, that they can be more than the drug dealer that maybe they live with or that's next door, or their dad who turns out that he's a gun runner out of Mexico or something like that. These things are real. And I'm telling you the truth. Not all of them that live there are like this, but there is enough that we are there often. And I pursued people and even had to go into that area to make some arrests in that area, which is in Fullerton. So Anaheim, we would have to come in there, and we were making arrests in that very area that I was at, standing there, and would make this very similar arrests. Now, this place can completely change, and it's not what I'm telling you, but I'm telling you that I know well enough. If you can tell the way that I was standing, you never take the cop out of the guy, even after retirement, as I was standing in an angle watching the vehicles as they drove in, because that's just what you do when you're in those areas, is that you have to watch every vehicle coming in, because you don't know who's in that vehicle and what they might do as they're driving by. And it's just a habit. Why am I telling you that? Because it's important to understand, to know that these children and these parents are in our school district. These children and the parents are in the city of Fullerton, where the city council needs to do better with what's going on in that neighborhood. I believe, because it looks very much like the neighborhoods that we had in Anaheim, that we were able to transition to a much cleaner area, reduce some of the traffic and some of the population, because there's many people living there that aren't paying rent, that are the landlords are doing the wrong thing. They're taking money from all the people at the highest cost. And so in some cases, you have 8 people paying full rent to live in a 1-bedroom apartment. That is wrong. And so there's things that need to happen. Do I know for sure that's happening there? No, I'm just telling you what the things that are possibly happening. There's just way too many vehicles there, way too much traffic in a very small area for it not to be happening. But again, it's possible. So I just wanted to bring you an aspect of something that you may not understand, of how our elections have consequences. Sure, they impact us, but many of us are very fortunate that we've either had the opportunity that we've had, that God has given us an amazing skill, or the ability to be in a business that we're in, that we can live in an area that does not have that kind of demographic, or that kind of community where we're stuffed inside of apartments. And so many of us are very blessed, and we don't think about it. We often think that an election is important because how it affects us. But we really need to look at it and say, how does it affect the community? How does it affect the church? How does it affect the people around us? And remembering that all of these children go to school with our children. And it's important to raise these children to be strong, educated, confident, courageous children that will grow up to be good employees and workers and entrepreneurs in our community. But it's not going to happen the way we're doing it now. Our education system is broken. It is indoctrination, not education, and it really needs to change. And it goes hand in hand, not just with the school board, but with the city council. We need more school choice, and we need the money that these schools were given to go to education. And there's millions and millions of dollars that is just sitting there that they're not using. They're sitting on it for some reason, and they're spending some of it on nonsense. We know for sure that they were going to pay $60,000 for a Black Lives Matter CRT supporter to come and teach at one assembly at the El Camino, which is a school where the troubled youth go. And they were going to send somebody that hates the police, says that white people are oppressors, and that everybody of color is oppressed. They were going to spend $50,000 on that guy to teach at a troubled youth school. That's just one example. I could give you more examples, but that's just one example that you need to understand, that we need to have people on the school board like Todd Frazier and Rich Inglis, and they need to be on the school board. We need to get out people like Buck and Freeman, who have been there far too long and could care less about the education of children. They do not care. I know. That sounds very strong, but I've been to every school board meeting for the last 2 years. Oh, not everyone, almost every one of them. And based on how they talk, what they're for and what they're against, they're not for the education of the kids. They're clearly for the indoctrination and miseducation of our children. They will continue to lower the grading system so everybody can pass, whether they speak English, whether they can write, whether they can do math or not. It does not. Oh, I'm sorry, Rich Engel. I think I always add an S to his name for some reason. Rich Engel. Here we go. Thank you, Karen. Rich Engel. He'll be on the ballot, and make sure and vote for him. Just really quick, let me get to Diane. Now, Diane's from Texas, and let's see what Andy, you shine a light in many in ways everyone should appreciate, no matter where one lives. You in California, us in Texas. Bless your insights and willingness to share your insights. Thank you, Diane. I appreciate that. Your assessment of the impact of the woke agenda is so needed. I would love to host you on our Global Redemption Broadcast Network.tv podcast. I would love to do that, Diane. I miss you, Diane. Absolutely love your energy, your family values, and love of God, family, and country. Connect with me and let's affect this change. That would be awesome, Diane. This needs to happen all over the country. More people need to be doing what Diane's doing. More people need to make people aware of what's happening in our schools. And I'm just going to do this one more time because I said it wrong. Rich Engel. Make sure and vote for him. He is an attorney. We got Todd Frazier, who is an accountant. Two people we desperately need with skills that are desperately needed on the school board, not just in the superintendent position, because the superintendents that we have agendas. They have agendas. There's no other way to explain it. What they put up on the board and talk about where the money's going and how, and why it's going and how much is being spent makes no sense. It is wrong, and we need these things to change. Having a school board member that understands accounting is extremely important and necessary for us moving forward, because finding out where the money is going and where it's being spent, and why is it that these other school board members and superintendents are pushing so strongly for CRT teaching and any other indoctrination in the form of the online schooling that our kids are being forced to do in school. We have kids in school that are probably doing more online schooling than they're doing person-to-person schooling from the teacher that's in the room. They're putting them on computers, and I don't know what is she doing? Knitting? What is she doing in the corner? Is she not, or he? Are they not teaching? What are they doing? All right. Diane says, I take $60K to come and share real values. That's awesome. All right, my friends, thank you for watching. Again, I want to just put out this push. I am getting a lot of people sending me private messages, which is fantastic. They're talking about some of the city council members on the Yorba Linda. Again, I need people to do what I did today. They go out and get stories, go and maybe try to interview one of the city council members, maybe try to go out and interview some of the community leaders that are out there. Many of these areas, like the one that I was at today on Pearl Street, there are quite often community leaders. I know we had them in Jeffrey Lynn and the Chevy Chase area. When we needed something to change or needed the help of the community, we would go to the leader. Now, I can't always remember how they became leaders. I don't know if the community in there elected them or said, you know what, or this is the loudest person became the community leader. That's quite often, I'm sure, what happened. But we would go and contact that person. And there was a lady down there in Chevy Chase, I believe, and I think it was a man up there down there in the Jeffrey Lynn area. And we would connect with them. And we would say, hey, what do you need? What's the problem? Where's the problem apartment? Where are they selling guns? Where are they selling dope? Where are the gang members hanging out? What are they talking about? Who are they going to go shoot up? Because we often knew if they shot at this area, we'd often go right away to the area that we knew that their biggest competition was or their rival was, and we would go right there. But we would sometimes go to the community leader and say, what is it you can help us out with? Or who do you think that we should talk to about fixing the prostitution or the human trafficking or the drug dealing that's going on in this particular community? Who is it that's causing the biggest problem? So if any of you out there have any connections or know somebody that can do that, that would be amazing, so that I can get this isn't something I can do by myself. There is so much that needs to be done. It would be amazing. All right. Karen says that stupid assembly was canceled because of parent involvement. Right. Thank you for, I should have closed with that. People need to get involved. And Karen is talking about what I was talking about. We had the gentleman that was going to come in and speak about whatever he's going to speak about. I don't know necessarily what his message was, but it wasn't going to be good, I'm sure. But whether it was good or not, let's say that it was going to be fantastic. The problem is that the social media was all about defunding police officers. The nuclear family was bad. Support Black Lives Matter Corporation, where all the money went to their mansions and that kind of stuff. And so maybe his message was good. It's kind of like the Democrats naming something the Inflation Reduction. That sounds great, but then when you go and dive into it, it opens up a world of nonsense and demonic and horrible crap. Same thing with the gentleman that was going to speak there at El Camino. His message was fine, but he would say, go to my social media, go to my Instagram. Where do they go? And then they go, and where they spend more of their time than they did with him is being indoctrinated in what it is that he believes. They see him in a positive role there in the assembly. He gains their trust. He gains their attention. And then they go there thinking, well, this guy, the school board hired him. The school board, paid him to be here. So he must be a trusted adult. And he believes in these things. And next thing you know, those kids are down the road. We may save a couple of them, but a couple of them will be gone. So the important thing was what Karen brought up is that because we made such a what are you talking? What are you thinking? and Leander Blades and Sean Youngblood, who are strong school board members, really pushed to say, no, this is not going to happen. And because of parent involvement, because we showed up at the school board meeting, we were able to stop that. So thank you, Karen, for making sure that that was on there. School board meeting tomorrow night at 6. Make sure and go to the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District for the meeting. 6 o'clock. It starts at 6. Okay, we'll be there. And make sure that you show up early so you can get a seat. And I will, well, I didn't know it was tomorrow, but I'm going to do my very best to be there and to stream it live so that everybody can see it. Now, they do also stream it live, but just in case, I like to do it on the social media. All right. Thank you, Diane. I am not going to show your phone number. Thank you, Karen, again, and thank you for making sure that I got the name right and reminded me of some of those things. You need to be one of my roving reporters, Karen, and maybe my producer to make sure I get things right. Yeah, it is early this month, so yeah, so I guess the time moved up for this particular meeting. So because it just seems like we had one just a couple weeks ago. All right, my friends, that'll be it for today. Just understand that regardless of where you're at, and I know that you know that I'm a conservative Christian. I know that you know that. That doesn't mean that I believe that every Republican is fantastic. It doesn't mean that every Republican, there's a few Republicans that need to be voted out. There's a lot of them. Lindsey, I can't think, what's his name? The old guy who's in charge of the Senate. That guy, he needs to be out. There's a number of Republicans I don't like either. But regardless of your political stance, whether you're Democrat, Independent, Republican, the important thing is that we understand that we have to educate our kids. We can't indoctrinate our kids. We need to take care of these neighborhoods that I just showed you. It's about taking care of those people. They're the most vulnerable. They're hurt the worst with the high gas prices. They're hurt the worst with bad roads. They're hurt the worst with people that aren't protecting them from landlords who are charging them an arm and a leg to live in a place that's full of cockroaches. Listen to me. I've gone to those places at night. Go into one of those places at night and look on the ground, and you will see more cockroaches than you ever seen in your entire life. Again, I could be wrong about that neighborhood, but I'm telling you, I'm probably not. You have never, Mitch McConnell. Thank you. What a knucklehead he is. See, I need you, Karen. You need to be on every show. You need to be my producer. They need to be protected. They need to be helped, and it's through elections that these things happen. We can see the destruction of Los Angeles. We can see the destruction of San Francisco, in Sacramento, and we'll even go to Portland and Seattle and Baltimore and Chicago. What happens when you don't take care of your neighborhoods? It turns into a nasty hole. I'm trying not to cuss this time. All right, my friends, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Karen, thank you for supporting me and being there and helping me out with the things that slipped my mind. All right. God bless. Love you guys. Take care. Bye.